Well, boys and girls, Mr. Thompson has asked me to say a little bit to you about the reasons that we have Remembrance Sunday. What is it that we're remembering at this special time of year? And I guess when you boil it down, there's three things that remembrance is about. Firstly, we're remembering the courage and the self-sacrifice of the people who fell in war on behalf of our country. And thinking in particular about the great wars of last century, World War I, World War II. Nearly 1.3 million men died in combat in those wars. 1.3 million British men who never came back from the battlefield or who died upon return to the UK because of their injuries. They were fighting for lots of reasons. I guess they were fighting against evil, to stop tyranny and oppression. But they weren't just fighting against, they were also fighting for something. They were fighting for their loved ones. They were fighting for our country, for our way of life. And they fought with incredible courage and bravery. Jesus once said, "Greater love has no one than this, than to lay down their life for their friends." And that's a big part of the reason that we have remembrance every year, to remember the sacrifice that these men from our parish, they may even be related to some of you listening today, men who died and put their lives on the line to protect and help others. So that's the first reason. The second reason is to remember the terrible cost of war. The writer and the philosopher George Santayana says those who fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it. And thinking about everything that happened in those wars, and indeed in the other wars since, should make us determined to try and stop that kind of thing from ever happening again as far as it's possible. We really want this not to happen. We want to make war a thing of the past, and that means that we have to work for peace. But remembering the cost of war is what gives us the drive to try and do that. So that's our second reason, remembering the cost of war. And then lastly, we need to remember the men and the women who are still serving their country today in the armed services, many of them working hard overseas on behalf of our country. But we especially remember those who over the years have been wounded in action. And every time we buy a poppy, the money that goes from the purchase of that poppy goes to support people who have been injured in war, people we call war veterans. So it's important that we continue to remember and support our servicemen and women who are serving even to this day, especially those who have suffered injury in the course of their work. Now, we can't meet at the War Memorial this year as we would normally do after the Sunday service, but what we're encouraging you to do this year is to paint a stone with a picture of a poppy and then leave it up at the War Memorial here at Bulhelvie Church or wherever your local war memorial is, depending on where you live. And take a moment as you do that just to reflect on what I've said today about the people who lost their lives, about the cost of war, and about those who are continuing to serve their country in the armed forces to this day. And for this year, when we can't gather in the way that we normally would, setting your little poppy stone down by the War Memorial and hopefully gathering many together will be our way of showing that despite everything that's going on in our world today with COVID, we will still remember. We will mark this day and make it special. So I hope you can play your part in that over the next few weeks and get your stones up to the War Memorial when you can. Thank you.